A warm greeting and welcome to all those who listen carefully, attentively to what I have been saying in recent times. I've been doing my messages, my videos mostly in Malayalam in view of the fact that most people in Kerala prefer to receive these insights in Malayalam rather than in English. But I'm also aware of the fact that as far as the coming generations are concerned, given the fact that most Malayalis or a large number of Malayalis are in a diasporic state, that is, they live and work outside Kerala, the second generation onwards would prefer English. Therefore, in view of emerging needs, I've decided also to do videos in English. To begin with, I'll be doing a series of very short videos, each video containing just one seed of thought. This is the opening or introductory unit in that series. I call them nuggets of spiritual thought. Nuggets of spiritual thought. The nugget that I want to address today is, in what sense is Jesus the Son of God? Is Jesus God? Jesus the Son of God? Now, it's obvious that from the four Gospels, Jesus does not refer to himself as the Son of God. He always refers to himself as the Son of Man. That doesn't mean that his divine status is dubious, but I think he does it for a particular reason, and that reason is not considered or mentioned in our midst, and that's the reason why I thought I would do this. Now, there are two ways in which the divine status of a person or a being can be understood. First is through explicit, powerfully or belligerently asserted claims. Someone can say, I am God, I am God, as some of these God men do. Even if they don't do that, they conduct themselves as though they are gods, and that is why they are called God men or God women. Jesus has no such pretensions. On the other hand, he says something that no God man or woman would ever say. He says, the foxes have their holes, the birds of the air have their nests, but the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head. Now, that is exactly the opposite of anyone who has any conscious pretensions about being God would ever say. So it's very clear that Jesus rejected this option, lock, stock, and barrel. Unfortunately, a vast majority of Christians I know are stuck at this level. They believe that Jesus made his divinity explicit, and therefore they set a lot of stock by the miracles that Jesus practiced. If Jesus were to be asked, he would ask you, what miracles? He was not aware of performing any miracles. To him, that was a natural order of things. If you have the faith, these things are natural. If you don't have faith, then these look supernatural. So when we say that these are miracles, we are actually confessing our own lack of faith, but that's another subject. Now, I said there are two ways by which the divinity or divine status of a being can be proved. One is via explicit claims, very, very powerfully, belligerently asserted. I have mentioned something about that. Let me move on to the next one. The other is to make no such claims, not even to mention it, but to let others experience the truth of it by their own in their own life. Now, for example, if you compare Jesus with the religious establishment of Judaism, you find an amazing contrast. The contrast is this, and it's very important, and we need to be very clear about it. Because that contrast is so very valid even today. In fact, it's even more valid today than it was 2,000 years ago. You see, the Judaic establishment was a wonderful establishment. In fact, you cannot blame it on ordinary religious standards. But there is a problem, and that problem is common to all establishments, particularly religious establishments, which is our subject today. Now, a religious establishment will draw attention to itself. The prime, perhaps the only agenda of a religious establishment is to lead all people to itself. But Jesus' agenda was very different. His agenda was to lead people to God. Now, these are tremendously different things. And unfortunately, these differences are glossed over. They are not at all taken seriously, therefore, they are not understood. These are completely contrary orientations. These are contradictory agendas. Let me state that again in the interest of clarity. While the Judaic religious establishment, presided over by its very powerful priestly class, at the top of which was the high priest, by the way, the high priest was a Roman appointee, was a political office. So the religious establishment had only one priority, and that is that the whole of the religious community must flow into its fold. If you actually examine the Jerusalem temple, which was the nerve center of the religious life of the Jews, you will find that that was meant to constitute the center, the epicenter of the life of the Jews. Jews must be temple-centric, and Jerusalem temple must be the center of their life, not God, but the temple. And temple means the priestly class, and the rituals that they conduct, the judgments that they pronounce, the prescriptions that they issue, so on and so forth. So Jesus had nothing to do with it. Jesus' mission was not to lead people into the temple, like the mission of all priests today. Ask any priest what should be the priority. The priority must be to lead as many people as possible into the church that he represents. But that was not Jesus' interest. It figured nowhere in Jesus' agenda. What was Jesus' mission? His mission was to lead people to God. Jesus knew one thing very clearly which we don't, and that is, you have to choose between the two. Either you lead people into the religious establishment, or you lead people to God. You have to choose between them. You can't be doing both. Just as Jesus said, you can't serve God and mammon. We have to say now, in hindsight, with the wisdom of 2000 years of historical experience, either you serve the religious establishment or you serve God. Either you lead people to the religious establishment or you lead people to God. You can't be doing both. And Jesus chose to lead people to God. And that, to me, is the foremost and the most authentic proof that he was divine. So therefore, in a practical sense, who is divine and who is not? A divine person is one who leads fellow human beings to God. And who is a priest? A priest is one who leads fellow human beings to his particular religion, and within the religion, to his particular sect, and in the context of Christianity, I have to say, to his particular denomination. And a person who is obsessed with leading people to his own denomination can have nothing to do with God. He may have all the pretensions in the world that he is godly, but he is far away from the divine. Jesus was authentically divine, I believe, because his mission was to lead people to God. Do you share that mission? Then you too are divine. Make no doubt about it. And that's why John in his gospel says that to all who received him and believed in his name, to them he gave the authority to become children of God. Who are children of God? Children of God are precisely those who lead people to God. And this distinction, I pray, be understood clearly. Thank you very much.